That's what you had for your last week. Okay. Okay. So moving forward for today, would have by the end of today, you'll understand how websites work, HTML structure, CSS, that's the styling, JavaScript, the activity, and how to build a personal web page. Are you following? Okay. Yeah, so the power of the web. Think about how often when you use the internet. Websites help businesses sell products, schools share information, and people communicate. Behind every website is someone who wrote the code. This is why web development is one of the most in-demand digital skills in the world today. So for how websites work, websites are built using three main technologies, which is your HTML, which gives the page the structure, your CSS, which controls how the page looks, and JavaScript, which makes the page interactive. I'll read together. We have three languages of the web, which are HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So HTML gives the page structure. Okay, okay. Can you hear me better now? So HTML gives the page structure. CSS controls how the page looks. JavaScript makes the page interactive. And a simple way to remember this is to imagine building a house. Is imagine building a house. HTML is the structure, CSS is the decoration, and JavaScript controls the action inside the house. So what is HTML? HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, a language for structured web content. It uses tags to define elements, which includes the headings, the paragraphs, images, links, and lists. Um, so for HTML, it uses what we call tags for the elements. I'll give you a brief example of what that looks like in a second. So we have the HTML tag structure here. Mhm. So most HTML tags have three parts. An opening tag, which is the P tag, as you can see there with the arrows, then the P, and then a close arrow. That's for the beginning of your sentence. Then you have the content. That's the actual text or content you put in between there. Then you have the closing tag, which is the key tag with a slash, the forward slash there. So the browser needs these tags and displays the content correct. Are we following? If I need to go slower, just kindly indicate also so I don't go too fast. Okay. So this is an example of a basic HTML document. And some very common HTML elements include headings for the title, paragraphs for text, links to connect page, images to make the page visual, lists to organize information. And these are enough to create a simple web page. For example, what you see right now on your screen here, once you run it in your browser, this opens a web page for you. This is my website. Welcome, this is my website. So this is the basic structure of HTML, and every HTML page has this structure. So are we following? Okay. So we have these are essential HTML tags, which is the main heading, subheading. You have the paragraph text, the link, like we listed before earlier. So these tags cover like 80% of what you need in your HTML learning. So for the headings hierarchy, each one is your biggest main title. Then you have the second level, the third level, fourth level, and fifth level. Use H1 for a page title, H2 for sections, H3 for subsections. Are we together? Can I kindly get a response so I know we're all together?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
Yes, sir. Make sure you hear us.
Okay. So yeah, so we have these links that connect to the web. Images make it visual. So links connect to the web, then images make it visual. This is an example of what a link looks like, where you have your HTTPS google.com, which gives it, this is what connects to the web. Then the images part is what connects to the photo. As you can see below, we have the attributes part where it shows your hypertext reference, that's the link destination, your SRC, that's the source where the image file is, and then your alt, that's alternative text for description. So this is basically what we've listed from previously also, just a further breakdown of it. This is what your lists look like. You have your first item, you have your second item, then you have the ordered list where you have step 1 and step 2. This is just giving you a detailed breakdown of what we spoke about in the previous slides ahead before this. Yeah, so for this, if you create a simple HTML page, once you open a text editor, your Notepad++, you can type in your HTML code, like what I showed earlier, which is the p tag. You have the p tag, and you put this is a paragraph, then you have the / p tag to close your paragraph. Please, if your mic is on, can you kindly turn off your mic? I think GSF Tungamaji, can you kindly turn off your mic? Okay, so going forward, your first HTML page. This is an example of what it would look like. You have your head. Where is the title? My profile. Kindly turn off your mic if your mic is on, please. So yeah, moving forward. Kindly turn off your mic, please.
Sir, excuse me, sir. Sir, you're too fast with the page.
Okay, I'll take it a bit slower.
I say no, he know they drive. I say okay, pay money for fuel now. Let them put fuel for motor.
Can you please turn off your mic, Aisha too? Okay, so I'll go a bit slower now so we have better understanding. So this is what your first HTML page would look like. Just have an example of just have a view of what it looks like. You have your doc type, your HTML, you have the head, that's the title, my profile, and title. Then you go forward. This will be in the process of learning this, you have like a more in-depth understanding of it, but this is what the structure would look like. So if you have this structure here, once you're done with this and you save it with .html, you'll be able to run the page on a normal website after you're done and you saved. Are we together? Can I move forward?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Moving forward. So we're entering CSS, which is basically styling. So CSS stands for Cascading Styling Sheets. It's a language for styling HTML. It controls the colors, the fonts, the layouts, the spacing, and visual effects. That's basically the design of everything you have on your website. CSS controls that. So this is how CSS code looks like. It's slightly different from what your HTML looks like, but it's still understandable because it looks like normal English, not too much for the coding. So for instance, you have this here, you have the selector property, you have a value, that's the values you put in. So for your H1 in this case, you have the color which you can select blue. In this case, it's selected blue. You could choose to put pink, to put orange, then your font size, you could select which you want and where you need the text to align, center or to the left. So it's very customizable and very understandable like English. So it's very straightforward. Then you have three ways to add CSS to HTML. That's the internal, the inline, and the external. For the internal, that's the one we use today. This is what it looks like, where you have your color here, and then you have blue. It's very straightforward and very direct. Are we together?
See this time.
Can I kindly get a response so I know we're all together?
Well done.
Yes, sir.
Together.
Okay, moving forward. So to reiterate again, we have three ways to add CSS to HTML. That is the internal, the inline, and the external. Then common CSS properties, which are text, backgrounds, and colors. Text and backgrounds and colors. This is what the coding for that looks like, where you have your color red, your font size, the font family, font weight, text align. It's basically almost like using your Microsoft Word, where you have to choose the size of your font, this and that. So that's like the general knowledge you have already. So all you're doing is just putting it in CSS now. So it's very straightforward. You just have to put the color, you put, okay, this is my font size, that one to Arial, that one to Times New Roman, that kind of. Do you need it bold? Do you need it italics? Do you need it in the center and all that? Then for your backgrounds and colors, you have your color here, yellow. I believe we're all familiar with hex code. So these hex codes are something like this. Your hashtag FF000. Those are like the codes that come together with colors. This hash code here is for white. That's what they call white. FF000. So you have like that for white. So for each and every color, you can have a different hex code for that. Are we together? Or do I need to move slower? So for spacing and layout, margin pushes things away, padding creates breathing rooms inside. So for spacing and layout, we have two major parts, which are margins and the padding. So as it's seen here, margin pushes things away. That's moving it from either to your left to your right or right to your left. While the padding creates breathing room inside. It's more like it expands it. So this is what that looks like. Okay. Also, we have ways to specify colors, which we have three ways here, which is the color name, the hex code as I mentioned earlier, and then RGB, which is your red, green, and blue. So either you type in the color name like you see here, which is red, and you have your background color, which is blue, or you use the hex code for that. So you could use the hex code for that, which is this for red and this is for blue.
Hi, good morning. Can you please turn
Yeah,
off
hi, good morning.
one of your devices? It's
Sorry?
echoing. One of your devices, can you turn it off?
I believe couple of people have the mics turned on, so can you kindly turn it off?
Okay, I think it's better now.
Yes, I think there was a user here that did have his mic on. So can we proceed now?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Yes. So back to three ways to specify colors. We have the color names, we have the hex code and RGB. So you could use the color names directly, you could use the hex codes of the color, or you could use this RGB scale. So moving forward, styling your page. When styling your page, you have a structure like this, where you have the background color. You use, in this case, the hex code was used. Then the font family was used as Arial. This is your margin, color, dark blue, text align, center, font size. This is everything we just explained now, fixed in lines of code. So once you have something like this, and you save it and you press your browser, and you would watch it transform to fit into this specifications you put in here, where you have your background color fitting this, your font moves with Arial, then your margin it moves with 50px. Same way your color goes with dark blue, and everything just works together with this code line you have here. So this is what this looks like for styling your page. This is just a basic example. Going forward, you do more lines of code with this, but this is just like a simple example of what it could look like. So let's see JavaScript. Moving on to JavaScript, adding interactivity. This is the third part because it's all intertwined together. You have your HTML, then you have to integrate it with your CSS, then also the JavaScript. So they are all intertwined together. They are not that separate. They are all intertwined together. So what is JavaScript? The programming language of the web. Every interactive website uses JavaScript. It makes websites, reacts to it, validates forms, creates animations, build games, fetch data, and much more. So JavaScript it's very wide and broad. I believe we all have an understanding of what JavaScript is now. Are we together?
Sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So how to add JavaScript. This is an example of how to add the JavaScript. In script tags, usually at the end of the body, this is what you do. It looks basically something like this. You have the body here, your HTML content, which is what we discussed in previous slides. Once you have that line of code here, the next thing after your script, you have your JavaScript code here. That's where you put it. Are we together?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So your JavaScript goes in script tags, usually at the bottom of the page, not at the top of your page, but at the bottom of your page, where you have the script tag up, your JavaScript there, then you have your script tag to end the entire paragraph with your forward slash. The difference between these two scripts here is the first one is to begin your paragraph, and the second one is to end that paragraph. That's why it has a forward slash. Applies to all tags, where you have your P tag also that has the forward slash. So you can keep that also in mind in case you're having a bit of misunderstanding with it. Once you see the forward slash there, it is to end that entire line of code. If not, your code will continue to the next line and you didn't end it properly, so it might not run. So for this case, for your JavaScript at the bottom of the page, you have the scripts there, your Java code script. Okay, so you have your JavaScript code here. Then you have your scripts to end it. Then we go forward to JavaScript basics. So these are the basics of JavaScript. 1, you can show a message. 2, change text on the page. And 3, do math. As you can see, it is very straightforward and very understandable. You have the alert tag, hello tech bridge. That's what you needed to show. You just needed to show hello tech bridge. It's as easy as that. It shows you that. If you want to change the text on the page, it looks something like this. With time, you get more detailed understanding of this, but this is just what it looks like at the page level. Also, you can use it to do mathematics, where you have let result equals to 5 plus 3. Then you have this, it shows you 8. It helps you do mathematics without having to go through the entire hassle. So are we together? Okay, how to create a button. So using JavaScript, I'm using HTML, you have this line of code. You have the button tag on click equals show message. You have this click me. So what it shows you there is a button on your page that says click me. Like on your different websites you've visited before, you can just have a button there that is hanging and it just shows you click me. Using HTML, that click me button you see most of the time, this is what the code, the line of code behind that button looks like. Usually this is what it looks like in JavaScript. In HTML, sorry. And this is what it looks in JavaScript, where we still have our script function again. Not like the regular functions for HTML. You have your script function, then you have the function show message, then alert, you click the button, script. So this is what it looks in JavaScript, and the one above is what it looks like in HTML. Also, we have what we call functions. And functions are very essential because they help you reuse code instead of writing it over and over again. If you have a long page of code or long lines of code, you don't have to rewrite the code from beginning, this and that. You use functions to reuse the code you've written previously instead of starting all over, writing the same line of code 1,000 times. You use functions to reuse those code as you push forward in your coding. So that's the purpose of functions in coding. So for instance, you have this here. It's written, I believe you can all see this, and it's very straightforward. So we see function greet name, alert hello, plus name. This is what our code is saying we should do. So we use this function to greet name. So every time we have greet Ada, it shows hello Ada. Then because of the function we use again, we don't have to write a fresh code for Ada and a fresh code for Chidi. So every time we use the function here, it just goes straight to, once the name changes, greet Ada, it just goes to hello Ada and it goes to hello Chidi instead of writing alert hello plus the entire code again. So your function helps you to reuse this code without writing it all over again. So putting it all together, this is how HTML, CSS, and JavaScript work together. So this is just a basic example of what it looks like, all of them together. Where you have your HTML above, you have your JavaScript down here, then you have your CSS in the middle. As you can also notice, once again, the JavaScript is below. It is not above or in the middle. It is below. So this is a basic example of what it looks like. The HTML, CSS, and JavaScript all together. Do we understand? Or are we together?
Yes, sir.
So moving forward, we have debugging tips. So when you code, there are common mistakes you make in coding. For instance, forgetting to close your tag, using the closing tag. That's your P tag, your closing P tag. As I stated earlier, once you forget this, your code doesn't know when to stop. It keeps going. So you need to close it. You need your closing tag, which is the / ending close P tag. It closes that entire line of code. Then it knows that from the beginning of your code, where you started with your normal P tag, so when you ended it, it knows this is what I am supposed to run from this point to this point. So if you forget to do this, your code will not run, and then you have an error of debugging. Also, typo in tag names. For instance, you can see here, instead of img, that's image, we're trying to spell the entire thing, which is imge. If you have this typo, your code will not run, and you'd have to rectify this in order for it to move forward. So missing quotes around attributes, CSS semicolon missing, JavaScript syntax error, all these are common mistakes that are made in the process. And how to debug, you can check your browser console with F12, which is usually the inspect. Then you could read the error messages or check line by line. Although line by line will take you a long period of time, but it is very efficient. So these are debugging methods. So are we together?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So for the activity, to build your complete profile page, HTML, at least 2 headings, at least 2 paragraphs, 1 list, 1 image, which is optional, then your CSS, background color, text colors, font styling, center title, JavaScript, at least 1 interactive button. So are we together?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So moving on, saving your web page. So after using your text editor, you save your file as myprofile.html. Make sure it ends with .html. Then save in your TechBridge folder. Right click, open, go to browser. You can share this file with anyone. It's a real page. So I believe we all got all the instructions on this page, or should I hold on to the page for a while? Did you get all the instructions on this page?
Just hold on a little
Okay.
bit.
Hello, I hope
So
you are
can I
going to.
move forward?
Hello, sir. Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Can you hear me? Hello, I hope you are going to send this on our platform so they can go through it.
Okay.
Yes.
So also bringing this back for
Huh?
saving your web page.
They asked me question. I said,
Where is it?
should I answer yes? I mean,
Okay, I'm not going to read this one. Just remember that I need to use
So are we together? Have we gotten all the instructions?
No.
So should I go back to the previous slide? So let's go back to the previous slide one more time so you get all the instructions for your activity.
So you're not seeing what the man is doing, I see you on the school. So that's it.
What they're supposed to be using, you're just snapping, doing anything.
So you're heading over there.
Yeah.
No one is far.
We are not new. You can
Who's closest to the lecture?
So can we proceed?
So I'm not seeing what the man is doing. Is this people that close that screen?
Okay. So moving forward. So for this, these are the key takeaways for this. So today, I believe you all learned about how websites work, HTML, the structure and content, CSS, which is your styling and design, the JavaScript, which is interactivity, and we built a complete personal web page, which you would be able to do in your activity, and the debugging basics. So coming up next, we'll have programming fundamentals, which will be Python and JavaScript. We learn more about variables, data types, if or else statements, loops, functions, and build programs. So get ready to be programmers. Do we have any questions?
Well, sit down. Coming up next. You sure you're coming up next, huh?
Yes.
Okay.
So any questions? Kindly send in your questions to the chat box. I think GSS Gogalada, you mentioned about creating a website. We just did similar just above here. I don't know if you were here from the beginning. We showed you a complete we went through the entire process step by step to be able to create something really short and very easy for the activity. This is what it looks like. And this is what we went through in the entire slide. Where you have your HTML at the beginning, you have your title. Then we have what we fixed here, the background color, light blue, style head, at the body, which is this part we have your CSS. Then at the end, we have your JavaScript. This code you see here, if you run this would bring you a full website.
Yeah, attention.
So have I answered your question on how to create a website?
Can they get a quick demo? Do you think it's possible that afterwards?
So once again, what you're seeing on your screen now, this is a complete code to give you a website, a basic website which shows you hello from my web page. This is everything that comprises of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. This works perfectly fine. Once you save this as a .html file and open it in your browser, it comes up for you. Okay, more on JavaScript. We'll just take a few questions, then we'll be able to proceed. So for JavaScript, I don't know what the precise question you're asking, but for JavaScript, let's go over it just briefly again. So this is what your JavaScript does. It reacts to clicks, validates forms, creates animations, build games, fetch data, and much more. It is very expansive. Your JavaScript is very, very expansive. And how to add your JavaScript, this is what it looks like. As I said earlier, your JavaScript comes at the end of your code, where you have the script tag first, then your JavaScript code in between, then you have your script tag to close that. So usually it comes after your CSS, which is at the end of your coding line. Then these are the basics for your Java. Throw a message, change text on page, do mathematics. These are just basic codes of what you can use Java to do. Then this is back to HTML.
So please, can you slow down on this slide? You are too fast.
Okay, sorry. So do I go back to the JavaScript slide for you, or
yes, sir?
Okay. So yes, this is how you add your JavaScript. You have the script file, the script tag, then your JavaScript code down here, then you have to close your script tag, and that's it for Java. And yes, the clip would actually be sent to the platform. Okay, apologies for those that can't hear me too well.
I know
Okay, I think someone asked, what is H6 used for? Yes, your H6 is used for, it's like the lowest level of your heading. So your H6 from H1 to H6 are used for heading. So H6 is the lowest level of your heading. Is that clear?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Now, what are the major
Skills in programming and coding. So what are the major keys and skills in coding and programming?
For your JavaScript, yes, in JavaScript, are we allowed to store profiles or documents? Usually it is embedded within your HTML documents. So I believe your answer is documents there. So can we have one more question, then we move on to the next session?
Sir, in programming and coding, what are the major keys in programming?
Do we have any other question?
Sir, yes.
Or can we move on?
Yeah. Sir, please, what is the major keys in programming and coding?
Why didn't I say?
Okay. So I believe no other questions.
Sir, this question.
Only one.
Remaining only one.
In a JavaScript. There you go.
Okay. What question is that? Have you forwarded it?
In a JavaScript, basic is a what?
In JavaScript, it did must to do math.
It depends on what you want to use your JavaScript to do. Like we earlier stated here, mathematics is something you can do with your JavaScript. So it's just like one of the things you can use JavaScript to do. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay, no more.
If, for instance, you're creating something like a calculator or something that sums up, then you have something like that. That's when you use your mathematics there. That's where you have to use like a mathematical part for it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
So can we move on? Or do we still have, there are no more questions, yeah?
Move on, sir.
Okay. So moving on to the next session, this will be programming fundamentals. I know someone asked a question about it, but since we're moving towards it, this would clarify better about it.
Why?
So moving into programming fundamentals, programming is a skill of giving instructions to computers so they can perform tasks. These instructions are written using programming languages. Today we will start by learning some core ideas behind programming. So these are the lesson objectives. By the end of today, I hope we'll be able to learn all this also. We'll learn what is programming, variables and data types, conditionals, that's the if and else commands. Then we have the loops, which are for and while, then functions, then also how to build the program. So from scratch to Python. So basically, what is programming? Programming is writing instructions in a language computers understand. So you have from your problem, you have a problem, then the algorithm, that's your code. Your algorithm, then your code, then you have the solution. So in a basic way, to kind of understand this a bit better, it's just put it in your mind. Like first, you have to identify a problem, then plan the steps to solve it, then write the code, then finally run the program. So that's your problem, algorithm, code, and then solution. So for an example is what you have here. So check if the number, if you have a number, check if the number is even or odd. Then the algorithm, which is the plan to, or the step to solve it, you divide that number by 2. Then check if there's a remainder to it. Then the code you now use in this context is you write it in Python. So the solution you get is now the program tells you whether it is even or odd. So are we together? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Um,
So the question will be why Python? Python is it's an easy to read language. It basically looks like English. For your Google, for NASA, for Netflix, they use Python, which is a very powerful tool and it's versatile, which can be used for web, AI, data science, and automation. And it's also beginner friendly. Students like you will be able to learn it in comparison to other programming languages. So Python is very easy to understand. And some uses for Python are web development for things like Instagram, Spotify, or if you choose to build your own app, you could have it in your name, maybe JSS Kashi app or something of that nature. You could have that. Python is something you could use for that web development and can be used for AI and machine learning. You can use it for data analysis and you can also use it for game development. So this is how programmers think. Computers are dumb but fast. In the context of you have to tell the computer what to do in order for it to do that. So that's why the statement there is computers are dumb but fast. They only do exactly what you tell them. Errors are normal. Professional programmers see errors 100 times a day. Practice makes perfect. The more you code, the easier it gets. You have to remember all this. You cannot decide to code today or you practice today, then leave it for like 2 or 3 weeks before you try and do it again and expect to be really good at it. Constant practice makes you a very good programmer. So keep that in mind because that's how a programmer or a potential programmer actually thinks. So going to variables and data types. What is a variable or what are variables? A variable stores information. You can think of it like a labeled container. For example, you have this. Just imagine like this is a variable actually. A variable stores a value. So you have the label, which is the variable name, and then you have the content, which is the value, which is 15. So like a labeled box is like the label or the box rather is like the age. Then it's equal to 15. I don't know if we're together. So your variables help you to do something of this nature, like what you're seeing here. You have your age equal to 15, name, other, height, 1.6 meters, 1.65 meters. So this is what variables do. So the variables here are the age, name, height. So they store the data there. So for this variable age, it stores the data 15. For the name, it stores the name other. For the height, the value it stores is 1.65 meters. So are we together? Also, to keep in
Yes,
mind,
yes,
the
sir.
equal sign, it means assign, not equals. So keep it in mind. It's not your regular equals in mathematics. It means assign. So for like the variable age, it's assigning 15. So it's not that age is equal to 15. It's the age, the equal sign there is assigned. So the age variable is assigning 15 as the value. So also we have data types, which you have the string, integers, and the float and others. So for the string here,
Is it the
are we
way?
together or am I too far?
Wait, this live?
Can you kindly mute your mic? Just like Gabby. Okay. So we also have we're speaking about data types. So variables can store different types of information. Some common data types include strings, which represent text, integers, which are whole numbers, floats, which are decimal numbers. Okay. Says I'm too fast at the moment, so I'll take it a bit slower. So there's enough data types. We could just take points for this. For data types, some common data types include strings, which represent text, integers, which are whole numbers, floats, which are decimal numbers, and booleans, which are true or false values. So these are examples of what it looks like. Strings, which we said represent text in quotes. This is what it looks like. This is what the string data type looks like. The text here is, you could see the name Chidi School Tech Bridge Academy. So are we together?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So for integer, it deals with whole numbers, which you can see here, which is age 16, students 30. So for your integers, it's whole numbers. For your string, it's text. So can we proceed?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, so other data types we have are the floats and the boolean, which the floats is for decimals. Remember, for your integers, they are not just random numbers. They are whole numbers. So for your integers, they are whole numbers. And for your floats, they are decimals. So do not interchange them and say they are all just numbers. For your integers, they are whole numbers. For your integers, they are whole numbers. And then for your floats, they are decimals. As you can see for this, these are the true or false, which is, this is just is teacher equal to or assign false, yeah, tech reach true or false. So for this, it works with true or false, not just general text. It doesn't represent general text. It works with true or false. Is that okay? So we have 4 of them. Could you kindly hold on with the questions for now? I would address that at the end of this session. But I see your question from GSS Hajcamp. And yes, Python can be used in data analysis. So the data types, we still stick to 4 types of the 4 common data types we have here are string, integers, floats, and booleans. Do we have that down? And can we proceed?
Listed hard. That was
Okay, I believe we can proceed from here. So also we have what we call print in Python. So the print function displays values. This is what it looks like.
Sir, please, we are not seeing your screen.
Once you add the print function to this, what you've typed already in your code, your Python
Sir,
code,
please
the
increase
print
your
function tells it
voice.
to, this is what you are supposed to show me on my next screen once I run this Python code. Do we understand? The print function is what tells the system to show so and
Sir,
so
we
on the
can't
screen.
hear
So
you.
for instance, now we have this name. You've written this brief line of code. You have your name, Ada, age 15, school, tech bridge. But if you run it without your print function, if you run this, okay. So once you run it without your print function, it does not come up. So once you include your print function, the print name, that's what shows you this Ada. For print age, that's what shows you 15. Can you hear me now? Please, if you can hear me, can you indicate?
Do it like this. No, they can hear yourself. Maxwell.
Are we together?
Sir, we can't see your screen.
We can't see your screen. Tell some people too.
They hear my sweet deepness. Sir, your laptop screen is not showing.
Okay, I believe some schools are sharing their screen. Can you kindly turn off JSS Wally? JSS Wally, can you kindly stop sharing your screen? And can the others see my screen?
Yes, sir. I can see it now.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Kindly notify if you can see my screen so I know we can proceed.
Sir, can you be more audible?
All right, thank you. So once again, we'll say the print function, this is what it looks like. So you have this line of code, then you have your print function there, so as to show what you have just written above. So for the print function here, it's name. So you have the print function name, which shows Ada. So without your print function, you would not be able to see what you've written. The system does not know. You've not told the system, okay, show me this when I run the code. Moving forward, we also have variable operations. So we have the hash symbol is a comment, or notes for humans is not by Python. So this is mathematics with Python. For instance, if you have x is equal to 10 and y is equal to 3, remember using your print function again so that you'll be able to see what the system is supposed to know that this is what I am supposed to do. So you have this case, x plus y. It's supposed to print that. So x plus y is going to be 10 plus 3. But since you put the print function with x plus y, what to show you is 13, which is below here. So for each line that you include that print function here and a different variation of x plus y, x minus y, x times y, x divided by y, percentage, x percentage y, so on and so forth. It gives you all the answers here. So for each one you have the print function. So in mathematics, this is like a very basic example you have. If you have a number and you just need to go through, or you have a specific value for x and a specific value for y, and you need to be able to figure it out in simple arithmetic terms like this, you should be able to fit this in and it gives you this immediately. So are we together or should I re-explain this?
Yes, sir.
Let's read the question.
I should all this one.
Just now, what watching? This thing now, the project.
Let after everything.
Okay, so are we clear with this, or should I go over it again? This is just mathematics with Python. This is just a basic example of mathematics with Python. It's still using your print function with different variations of x and y to give you your solutions on that. So for each one now, for x plus y, we know x is 10 and y is 3. So putting this function, your print function here with x plus y, this is an addition sign. The hash is a symbol or a comment. That's for humans, usually ignored by Python. So you know it's addition and it gives you 13. Same for the subtraction, multiplication, division, modulus, and exponent. So are we together?
Yes, sir.
Can we proceed?
Yes,
Don't
sir.
close the church. You cannot do that. More than
Okay. So we have what we call string operations also. Everything we're speaking on now is all on Python. Just to keep the loop close so you know that this is all involved in Python. So your string operations, we have a couple of string operations. We have the combined strings, we have the stringing methods. So the combined strings, this is what it looks like. You have your first name, Ada, last name, Okafor, full name equals first name plus. This is what it looks like, combining strings together. So that when you print and you print full name, it gives you Ada Okafor. Are we together? So your line of code or your lines of code is your first name.
Thank you.
So your lines of code is the first name you have is Ada, and the last name is Okafor. But in order to be able to print the name together, that's when you use combined string. So full name will now be equal to the first name plus then the last name. So when you come to print that code and all that, you use print full name because you've already given it full name already here, said that. So once you have that and you have this, it comes up as Ada Okafor. Are we together? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So I believe this is very easy to understand because it's basically English. There is no, you know directly what they're asking for, first name, last name, full name. You exactly know what you're going for. So it's basic English. It's very straightforward. So for the string methods, we have this print message or upper hello, this and that. You capitalize it, then it gives you. This is also same as, it's very similar to this combined string up, but you see the string methods, your message is hello. But you need one, the string method here is you need to turn it to your uppercase, and you need one to capitalize only the first letter of that word. So your main message is hello. But instead of having to do too much with it, you could just do print message.upper here, like the line of code you have here. It now capitalizes the entire thing. Then you have the one that will just capitalize only H. That's the first letter of the word. Are we together? So how to get information from users?
It's like you are this pattern. If you are putting now,
Are we together or am I too fast?
Yes.
I don't understand. I told them my child. Let's see if it is. Let's make sure. What do I do? I go back and now. First, I'm sorry, die on my picture. Because it's good. Then if
I
I
think
do
it's quite a quick calculation.
this out for you. Because you have to screenshot it. Do it. So if you are screenshotting,
You find
you
the
don't
account.
really think we are going to see it. You're not going to see it.
Find the account.
Yes. I don't think we can connect to Bara right.
Okay. So I believe we're proceeding then. So how to get information from users. In this case, in getting information from users, we use the input function. And this is an example of the input function here on your screen. Are we together? I think some people's mics are turned on. Could you kindly mute your mics, please? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Damian.
So are we together? Can we proceed?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Can proceed, sir.
Okay, thank you. So this is what your input function
Yes,
looks
sir.
like. Okay. This is what your input function looks like. Programs can also ask user for information. In Python, we use input functions. So for example, the program might ask the user to enter their name. The answer is stored in a variable and used later in the program, which is an example of what is shown now on the screen. So the example here is the program might ask for the user to enter their name, which in this case here, the name here is induced.
That's the program.
Can you hear me?
Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So this line of code, we're referring to it as the program here. This particular input function is displayed and showing here. This is what we're working with here. So in this case, the name that is entered here, so the name you enter.
Yes.
Yeah. So okay. So in this case here, the input function here, this case, it requires the name. So the name that has been imputed here will be the induced. So once you print that hello plus name, this line of hello, this print line here, the function here prints in brackets hello
Sir, please,
plus
can you be
name.
more audible?
This is what will come up on your own end. It's just the program asking for your name. So for instance, if your name is let's say your name is John, and then you have this part of where it shows you enter your name. Once you put your name, and this is the code behind that, what you now print out will be hello John. Do we understand?
Yes,
So
sir.
for this input function here, that is what it does. It can ask for your name, it can ask for something else, but that is what it just the input function is for. It tells the person that is using the program to enter a specific value, which could be your name, which could be a number or something else. But that input function is just for you to be able to impute, as the name says, is for you to be able to impute into the program. So for numbers, convert with int or float. Int or float that we spoke about earlier. That's integers and floats. Integers which dealt with whole numbers and floats which deals with decimals. I hope we can still remember. So for numbers, you convert with int or float. So in this case now, as you've seen here, we're working with the age variable, which is equal to int, then the input to be enter your age. Then what it will now print out for you is when you ask for the print is you are that age you just imputed years old. So instead of using the input function here, because we are using numbers, in this case, we use the integer or the float. So if it's something you're working with that has decimals, instead of the int here, you use float. But if it's a whole number you're working with, you use int. So in this case here, when you're dealing with numbers, you use int or float. But in a case where you're dealing with the normal text, you use input. So it's same thing on this end, but all that changes here is your line of code where you use input or you use int. So int means integer. Okay, I'll try to be more audible so we can all be together. I don't know if you can hear me better now. If you can hear me better now, can you kindly indicate? Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, but try to increase your volume.
Yes, sir. We can hear you. We can hear you.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We can hear you better.
Okay. So dealing with okay. So that is it for getting information from a user. You use the input function and you also use input function for text, and then for numbers you use the int or float. So moving forward to conditionals, that's the if or else. So what are conditionals? Conditionals check if something is true. Real life example is if it's raining, then bring an umbrella. Else, don't bring an umbrella. So the context here is if or else we're using. So in conditions in Python is, for example, this is what it looks like in the code. Is raining equal to true? That's the value. Is raining, it's true. If it's raining, print bring an umbrella. Else, print no umbrella needed. This simply just means using the if function here is if it is raining, what your system or your program will show you is bring an umbrella. While if it's not raining, it will show you no umbrella needed. So for the case of where it's being true, you use the if. And where it's not, it's false, that's where you use else. So it's more like two sides of the coin. Are we together? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Moving forward, I hope you understand the if and else. It's very simple, very straightforward. It's a simple case of if it's raining, bring an umbrella. If it's not, which means the else, don't bring an umbrella. So in your Python code, this is what it looks like. Is you put if, the function you use here is if it's raining, it should print bring an umbrella. Well, if it's not raining, that's where the function goes with else, it should print no umbrella needed. Okay. So comparison operators, we also have that.
Sir, please, we are not hearing you. Please, can you be more clearer? We are not understanding what you're saying.
So these are what some symbols or comparison operators mean. What do you have the double equal sign? It means equal to. Remember, I told you earlier, when you have a single equal sign, it doesn't mean equal to, it means assign. For the single one, it means assign. Here you have double of it, which means equal to. For this symbol, your exclamation here, it means not equal to. So for this time, we all know this, the greater than, the less than. I believe we also know this greater than or equal to. And we have the less than or
Sir,
equal
please
to.
be audible.
Are we together? So I believe the ones that are not too familiar to you are the first two here, which double equal signs mean equal to, while exclamation means not equal to.
Sir,
So
please
in
be
your code,
audible.
this is what it looks like. Are we together?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
So
sir.
for your line of code, this is what you have. If you have x is equal to 10 and y is equal to 5, if x is greater than y, this is the symbol of greater than y there. It will print x is bigger. So if x is not, this is the sign we have here. That sign of not equal to, then you have y. What's to print if they are different? So are we together on this?
Sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir. Be
sir.
more audible, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we have the if statement. The if statement is if condition, then the code to run if true. So this is what it looks like, where you have your age is equal to 18. If age, remember our symbols we used here. If we have forgotten so quickly, let's go back and see. This is the symbol there, greater than or equal to. That's what it means. So we're coming down here. That's the symbol we used here. So if age is greater or equal to 18, what you should print is you can vote. But if this symbol shows it's less than or equal to 18, we believe what we can put there for it to print is you are not eligible to vote. Do we understand? So the if condition, it puts it to run if it's true. So for it to be able to run, you have to use these your symbols there where the greater than or equal to. So important is to use, the important part of this is to use a colon after a condition, which is where we said age is greater than or equal to 18. We now use the semicolon. So you use a semicolon after a condition, then indentation, 4 spaces or tab. I believe this, most of us will be very familiar with that in order to keep your coding lines very clean and neat. If you notice, they are all not in line. You could see the first line is there, the second line is there, third line, where the print function is. A tab, once you tap tab, it shifts it a bit to the side, so you have a cleaner line of code. And we know that under this if age is greater or equal to 18 box, we know that under this block, we have the print you can vote. So we know that for each one now, if you use the tab and shift it, we know that within that if age block, we know what is under that block is print you can vote. So if you want to change what is inside this block, you can come and see, instead of printing you can vote, you can put you can't vote or you're not eligible to vote. So it depends on what you need it to print out there. So the indentation is actually essential so that we can know what is inside the specific block. So if else statement, the program picks one path. If condition is true, it will run the if block. If the condition is false, you can run an else block. So like we said earlier, or what we stated earlier, as I said, if is for true, and else mostly deals with false. So this is a very clear and very basic example. The way you are seeing it here, this is how it will run. if you run it like actually in real life running of code. If you run this is what you come out with. So if age is greater or equals to 18, what you should print is you are an adult. Then for the else, if you are not greater or equal to 18, what it will show you is you are a minor. So if it gives you a space where we have the input at the very beginning before the age, where input or integer, like where we said we collect information from users, I believe we can all recall we just did that few slides up. So if it asks you what is your age and you end up putting 16, based on the function that is here now, what it will show you is you are a minor, because our function here is it greater or equals to 18. So once it's not up to 18 or is less than 18, what you have is you are a minor. Are we together?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes. Right now.
This ELIF, else if. So it's basically else if. You can use it when you have multiple
Sir,
conditions.
please, what does elif means?
So instead of going through the entire process of picking if for each one and else for each one, if for else each one, if and else, it will give you a very long line of code. Having to bring out everything like this if else statement here, it's going to be pretty long. So what you do is you use the else if statement here. Okay, I believe someone asked, my attention has been brought to someone asked a question. Said I am not okay. Can we all hear me? Am I audible enough? Can we all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Can you hear me? Can we all hear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, please, what does ELIF mean?
Yes, it means else if. Else if. So it's basically like our statements that we had at the beginning, which we had the if statement and we had the else statement. So this is a combination of both. Because in programming language, instead of having your lines of code run too long, we have ways to make them shorter. So instead of having something like this that is on your screen now, where you have the if age is this, it prints this, and the else for each and every single variable you have, for each and every information you have, instead of having this much lines of code, about 4 lines of code for each information, you could use the else if statement here. That is what we're saying here. If your score is 85, if score is this, is greater or less than 90, is greater or equal to 90, you should print grade A. So this kind of makes it a lot easier to go instead of if, else, if, else. So it's like a combination of both. Are we together? The meaning of HTML and CSS. I would address this at the end of this session, but that was the first session we had.
Let's use Canva.
Canva. I like Canva because
When using yes, input is used for collecting data or used for, yes, collecting data from the user. So you input it in that's what you use in your line of code. But what shows to the person using your program, it just shows in a box or a platform for him to impute that information. Does that make sense? I'll read together.
That one you showed me that you just enter the person's ID number and the name will pop up.
So are we together?
It's better.
Okay.
I'm lazy.
So let me just address the person that asked JSS Gogolada, the HTML and CSS. We said HTML, the meaning is hypertext markup language, hypertext markup language, and CSS, Cascading Style Sheets.
Wow.
As you can all see here, it's a more direct and more combined version of if and else together. Yes, Python is used for web development. So if your score is greater or equal to 90, you have the print here. It should print grade A. That is the function you've given it. It should print grade A if your score is equal or greater than 90. So our case here is else if score is greater or equal to 80, which is not up to 90. What it should show is grade B. So it's just like your scores you have in school, where you know from 90 upward is A, from 70, maybe 70 or 80 downwards, so it's like 80 to 70 is B, 70 to 60 is C, something of that sort. So that is what you're using else if to do here. So else if kind of brings it so that you can extend the statement better. Okay. CSS, Cascading Style Sheets. I would type that in the chat box so you'll be able to get that. So do we understand the else if statement? Okay. So you have another activity where you write a program that asks the user age. If 18 plus, print you can vote. Otherwise, print too young to vote. Fill in the gap. This is basically, this is very easy. This is just a template for you. For instance, what you are going to write now is just what you're seeing on your screen, where you have the age. You're using int here because you are working with numbers. So this is basically your line of code here. So this is your age, int. So age int inputs, then the age is what you put in this gap. So I believe we've gotten this. So let me give you a little tip so that you can have another. It's very straightforward. So let me just give you like a further tip so it makes it easier for you. Remember just above, what we had there was if age was greater or equal to 18, what we saw under was print, you can vote. So that's like the entire concept of it. It is very easy to do. So it's if this is the dash 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 spot. I'll give you the tip for the first one. The dash 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 spot is age greater or equal to 18 or a number you choose to put. So that's what that line will look like. So you should be able to figure the one below that because we just did it few slides above. Yes, you would write the if statement in this situation. So that's the tip I gave you with the the if statement, which I said you could use if age is greater or equal to 18. Or if you choose, the statement you can use there is if age is not equal to, it depends on what you want to use there, but that is like the tip for you to use your if statement there. So are we together? And can we proceed? Okay. Okay, we also have what we call loops. So this is an example of what it looks with loops and what it looks without loops. We just have like just not if 18. It will be if age, then you have that your symbol there, your comparison variables there, which is greater or equal to, or is greater or is less than. That's what you have there. Then you have if so, if age is greater than this and that 18, then you have your semicolon before you have that. So that's what your if statement should look like in that situation. Then the second one, I believe you guys should be able to figure it out. If you have the if at the first, what would you have at the second? Are we together? For those that are finding it a bit difficult, let me show you what your if statement for the first part will look like. This is what it would look like. If age greater than or equal to 18 with your semicolon,
So
then
if
you
I
print,
get,
you can vote.
I will. Then we'll discuss tomorrow. Hmm?
Do we understand? Are we together? So if you have this as your first part of that, the second one will be else. So that's just the basic tip I can give you. After I've given you this one, the second part will be else. So having this, this is your if statement at first. The second one will be your else statement. And I've already given you what your if statement should look like. So you should be able to figure out your else statement from there. So moving on to loops. Loops kind of make it easier and shorter for your code. So having a loop in this situation, let's say you have to print numbers ranging from 1 to probably 100. You cannot be typing each line of code, print 1, print 2, print 3, print 4, print 5. That will give you too many lines of code, and that will be very hectic for you. So with a loop, what you can do there is You use for so in range 1,6 print I. So it gives you, if you use this line of code, instead of typing these many lines of code or 100 lines of code or more, you just have to type about 2 lines of code and it gives you all the information you need. So that's what you use loops for. Instead of having repetitive lines of code, you can use one to just generate that long line of code for you. Are we together? Yes, government secondary school. Yes, this is it. Kwali, you're on point with it. That is exactly what it should look like. But for your first line, it will be if age. Hold on. So all that should be together. So for your first line, you just have age equal to 18, not if age equals or greater than 18. So for your first line there to be age is equal to 18, then you can have your if age and continuous loop and so on like that. But that's what it's supposed to look like. So well done on that. So back to our loops. So do we have an understanding of what loops do? They just shorten your process and reduce the lines of code for you. Instead of having multiple lines or 100 lines of code, if you use a loop, it shortens the entire process for you to about 2 lines of code. So do we understand? So this is an example of the basic syntax for loops, for ranging, for variables in range, start, stop, hash code to repeat. So this is what it looks like. You just have 2 lines of code here that gives you this entire information instead of having to type multiple lines of code for each and every one. For 5 times 1, you have to type a different code. For 5 times 2, a different code. So using the range function here, range is where it should start and stop is where once you have the range function, you have 1 and you have 11. That 1 is representing where it should start and 11 is representing where it should stop. Are we together? Are we together?
No, sir.
So moving on. Okay. So for each one here, for the range, we saw we started with 1 and we put 11 as the stop. But 11 is telling us, using the number 11 is telling us to stop at 10, not 11 on the dot. Okay. Loops basically mean what you know loops to be. It does not have a different feeling. It's just what you have like a loop is like a reoccurring process. It's like a reoccurring process in this situation. Instead of having like, you know how we do with like the infinity symbol, a process that keeps on happening over and over and over and over again, but within a specific frame. Like for example, what we have here, without loops and with a loop. You see without loops here, we don't have that process reoccurring over and over and over again. These are like different lines of code for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It keeps on going. They are not together in a loop. So once you use a loop, instead of having to break down the entire thing, 1, 1, 1, 1, you have to take the entire thing. It becomes 1 in a range. For instance, this here, for I in range, that I there represents the numbers for each one. So instead of having to go print 1, print 2, print 3, it's just like assume X is equal to 1 to 10. So X can cover 1, it can be 1, it can be 2, it can be 3, it can be 4, it can be 5. So instead of writing X is equal to 1, X is equal to 2, X is equal to 3, all you can just do now is, in this context now, you use for I, which is also what we can use for X, in range. Then you use in brackets the range you want to use. 1 is your starting number, 6 is where it stops. But it doesn't use 6 as the end line. It uses the number before your stop sign. So if you use 6 in this case, what it ends with is 5. That's why when you Yes, you have to use the I so that it indicates what you're working with. That I indicates each and every value you're working with. So in this case here, if you see what we have here, that I represents 1, it represents 2, it represents 3, 4, 5. So I is basically like, you have to use the I. It's necessary for you to use the I in this context. Okay. So do we understand loops?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We understand.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, we understand. Yes, sir, we understand.
All right. So we'll
Yes,
be
sir,
moving
we
forward.
understand.
Yes,
Sorry?
sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And I think I saw a question here. What are the apps we can use to code? I could give you just 2 apps for now, or I'd rather just give you one, which is free and lightweight at the moment and it's beginner friendly. So you can use Visual Studio Code, especially for Python. You could use Visual Studio Code. So you could use it to work on this environment. So we also have the range function, which is what we just saw, or what we just finished on. It is intertwined with the loop. So the range function is same as we just explained. Okay. Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
So we have the range function. Yes, you have to use the I. The I is what shows you the function. It shows you what value. It represents the value for each and every figure there. The I is the value. It represents the value. So you have to use the I. Yeah, so for your range function, the same thing we just had that is intertwined with the loops here. So we have the start, which is optional. The default is 0, but if we use 1, then the stop is required and is exclusive, while the step is optional and default. So just like we had with the loops where we had the I, then we had print, then we had a box of range, we had that in brackets where we had 1, 6. So we can recall from what we just saw, we had 1, 6. That's showing the range. So it's similar thing to this. So you could have it as just these examples we have, where you can just have 5, and it knows automatically it's supposed to move from 0 to 4, because as we explained, it will not stop at 5. It tells it is supposed to stop at 5, so it stops at the number before 5. So once you use 5 as the figure here, the number that will stop is going to be 4. So it starts from 0, which is the default number. But if you need it to start from 1, that's when you use the second line, where you have range, where you have 1 as you're starting, then comma 6. So what it will give you is the range of numbers from 1 to 6. So that will be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So for a different one where you have to use like the steps, that's where you have 0, 10, 2. So it gives you this 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. So it's keeping, do we understand? So the range here is 0 to 10. But we need it to keep like two steps, which that's why we include the 2 at the back. So if I had a different case of 0, 15, and the number I put behind is 3, we would have a case of 0, 3, 6, 9, going towards like that. So does that make sense? So are we together?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. So these are some examples of what the loop looks like. This is for print multiplication table. This is what it looks like. So instead of going through the entire process of saying 5 times 1, print 5 times 1, print 5 times 2, you just use something like this. You know your range is 1, comma 11, like we just explained. So we know it's going to start from 1 and it's stopping at 10. So what we're going to print is, in this case, since it's multiplication table we're working with, and we're working with 5 times, you see why I said we need to use the I, because it shows the value. So you have 5 times I, which is equal to, do we understand? So the I represents each value within that range. So if it's going to print the entire thing, it shows you 5 times 1 is equal to 5. So it just works with the value of I within the entire range, which is I in this case, in this range, I is 1, I is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So that's why you have the entire thing here. So it gives you the full breakdown of your multiplication table. Then you also have the one for the sum. Okay. So we also have simple definition for, sorry, a simple example for the sum also. Okay. I would type a definition for you. So you have that. So are we okay with the definition of loop? All right. So the example we have here, we have that for the multiplication, we have that for the sum of numbers, which total is equal to 0 for I in range from 1 to 101. So this is what we have. This is a very simple, just prints the total in this case. So what it does here is, in this case of the sum here, it totals every single digit from 1 to 100. That's 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5, all the way to 100. So the total sum of those numbers is 5,050. So instead of having to go through the entire process where someone asks you could use it in mathematics. This is a very reasonable way to use it in mathematics. Instead of having to go through the long process of stressing yourself and adding one by one by one by one, your calculator and all that, you could just write this short line of code and have your response in a short time. Just have in range 1 to 101, which means every number from 1 to 100, the total will be equal to total plus I. So it prints the total. So you have the sum of 1 to 100. So for each and every digit from 1 to 100, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, continuously like that. The total and the sum is 5,050. I would not advise you to use command prompts for Python, which you would not be able to. So use Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code shouldn't take too much processor power and all that. So I would advise you best to use Visual Studio Code. Okay. So we also have the while function. So if you use while function with your loops, it will continue repeating as long as the condition is true. So that's why I use a while function. Like in the case here, you have while counts, there's 5. So it just keeps on going on that so far or so long the condition stays true. So we also have infinite loops. But it's very basic and straightforward. It runs forever. To stop it, you press Ctrl C. Always make sure that the condition can become false. If not, you'd create an endless loop where the program keeps running and running and running and running and running. That it becomes an infinite loop. So we try to avoid infinite loops most times. So, but to stop it, use Ctrl C to stop it. So always make sure just make sure that the condition can be false so that you have that program to be able to get to a point where it stops running and it doesn't run forever. Are we okay? So we have
Yes,
a short,
sir.
yes, so we have a short activity here also. You practice this. You write a program that counts from 10 to 1. So for I in range, this. Remember when we used 3 different digits in this case, where we had from range 1 to 10, then we had 2 behind, where it had to, this is like the steps we're using. They had to skip each one. So what we had at the end of the day was 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And I gave an example also. If you needed it to give you a different range, you could use 3, or you could start with 1, then you use 15, then you could use 3 at the last number. So it gives you 3, 6, 9, 8, 12, and so on and so forth. Okay. Can everyone hear me?
No, sir.
Okay, I'll try to be more audible so that everyone can hear me and be alone. Or if it's much of a problem for you, you can log out and log back so that you can be able to hear me properly. So have we gotten this? And we have the hint here which says use negative step. Once again, like what I said earlier, we use the step for this, where we used the prime example above was we using 1, 10, and 2. 2 was the step in this context. So if you're using a negative step, you're counting back from 10 to 1. So I believe we understand what we're supposed to do here. Yes, just as barrier on point, but you have one more thing you've not included there. Your range there compromises of 3 different figures, and I only have 2. You only have 10 and 1 there. So you still need 1, which will be your negative step. But you're on the good track with it. The only thing that is missing is your last figure, which will be your negative step. So after your 10, 1, there should be something else, which will be your negative step. So since we have that, not minus, nah, minus 10 will be a problem. Not minus 10. Not 2. You're on point with the negative step, but 10 is too big a figure. If you use 10, it erases almost your entire range step. So we could still keep practicing on that, but it's very easy. It's very, very easy. You guys are really close to it. Like you're very, very close. But just remember, you have to use a negative. You have to use the negative step for it. Not 0. Very close to 0, but not 0. So let's quickly go through what are functions. Then you could keep that one and practice it afterwards. So we have what are functions. Function is named block of code, can be called multiple times. Yes, CSS spreadsheet. Thank you very much. Yes, that is it. So I believe you have gotten the entire range for that. So negative numbers are numbers that carry minus in front of them. So yes, so going to the function. A function is a new block of code, can be called multiple times, can accept inputs, parameters, can return outputs. And like a recipe, write it once, use it many times. Customize with ingredients, that's parameters and all that. So a function is a block of code you can write. Just one block of code you can write that can be reused multiple times and can be intertwined. You could use it as you please. That's why the example is given as a recipe, where you can write it once, then use it many times. So the definition of a function. So this is what it looks like. So in order for you to be able to use this entire function, you use the def function here, which is it means define. So you create the function, then call it, which you can see here. You have def greet, print hello, print welcome to TechBridge, then you call the function. So once you have greet, once the function pops up, once greet pops up, what it gives you is hello, welcome to TechBridge. Do you understand? So the function here, the define function here, that's that define greet. All it does is it's once you call the function, it brings the entire thing back to you. So instead of typing this entire line of code, print hello, print whatever, all you have to just use greet, and then it gives you hello, welcome to TechBridge. Do we understand? Okay. So we also have functions with parameters. Parameters are inputs to the function. Okay. Functions with parameters. Parameters are inputs to the function. Like we said earlier, like a recipe, you could include parameters and ingredients to just spice it up, make it look different from the original, from the main thing. It's just like having jollof rice. Then you're adding green beans, carrots, adding plantain. Those are like the parameters here in this case. So it's like you're spicing it up, you're changing it a bit without losing the main original code you have. So your main block of code is what we can say is the jollof rice in this case. So you're adding the parameters are like the carrots, the plantain, your salad, all that. So that's, in this case, that's what's it. So you have something like this. Okay. Okay, what part of the explanation are we not getting GSS Babalada? So that I can further explain that.
The functions. Hello, are you getting me?
So parameters are inputs to the function. So we have an example here where we have the define function here where we had earlier, but now we have a space for name. So what we have is print hello plus name. So the name now we've added, like the extra parameter we've added to the original code, which was just greet name. So it was just greet and empty blocks of, like we have here. The first thing we have here is greet, and that's just it. But since we're including parameters now, what we've done is we have Greek and then we have name, which is now the parameter added to, which is like an ingredient to the entire defined loop. So do we understand? Okay. So you could also do multiple parameters, which functions with multiple parameters, which is this, where you deal with values, where you have add x comma y, which is plus y. It's still the same concept, just in a different form here. So do we understand? Okay. So we also have what we call return values. Use return to send back the value. So if this is what we have with the parameters x, y, we have return x plus y. What we're asking it is to add, what we need is for it to add x plus y. That's the answer we need. So what's to give us the result of x and y, which is in this range, x comma y. We say it should return x plus y. So what to now do is to add it to add 5 plus 3 and then give us that. So in a case where you have to change it, you could use, instead of x plus y, you could use x minus y. So what to now return, we use this return function of x minus y. What to do is to be 5 minus 3. So instead of showing the entire process, all you should print for you as a result is the result of 5 minus 3, which is 2. But in this case, since our return value, what we're using the return function here is x plus y, we're going to get it because 5 plus 3 is equal to 8. So you could use it for this return value for like different things. You could use it for x plus y, x times y, y minus x. You could use for all that function. So that's what the return value is, or the return function rather. So you also have to, which is the square. The return here is numbers times number, which is basically the square. 5 times 5 is 25, which is also same thing as the square of 5. So basically, your answer gives you straight 25. So it's just same way we used addition x plus y for the one above, but this one is the square of 5 that is being used here. So that's the function of return. That's the return values. So practice calculator function. Writes the function, it should multiply two numbers and return the result. So test it. So this is basically what we just had, what I just explained above now. So def multiply it, your code here, test it, this and that, if you print out. Do we understand this?
What's that for me? Stop blushing. You don't want to see your face. You don't want to see your face. Please, black face.
So these are some programming tips we have. Use meaningful variable names like age,
Your screen will get
not a student name, not surname. Add comments to explain code, e.g., hash, calculate average score, test frequently, run code after every few lines. You have to run your code after every few lines in order to avoid errors after you've written 100 or 1,000 lines of code. Just to realize maybe your second or third line of code had the issue. So you could not figure that out on time. You had to run the entire thing and had to follow line by line to check it out. So you have to run your code after every few lines. You can't see my screen. Everyone can't see my screen, or it's just
it's students. Name.
can you see my screen now? Okay, so these are some few tips. So these are also debugging tips. Indentation errors, where we have to know, we mentioned indentation earlier, where you have to know every content in a specific block of program. Then we have the name error. Okay, these are all tips we kind of mentioned in the program, in the process of going through our slides in this entire session. Missing column, parentheses, or quotes. One single mistake here, you don't have the parentheses or a quote, you miss it there, your entire code will not run. So you have to constantly run your code to know, and always keep in mind that you have to put it. A single column could make your entire code not run, and that could be the only issue with your code. There might not be your lines of code, everything might be perfect, but just because of a single column that was missing, your code would not run. So you have to be very careful when going through that. And when you're debugging, you have to make sure to check each and every one. Just not your lines of, not just the words you type in. You have to also check if your variables are defined and you're missing colon, parentheses, all that, just to make sure that everything is in place. So for today's project, we can
Please,
have
you're
this
a
down.
little
If you
bit
could
fast.
get this down. So do we have this down? Okay. So I believe if we have all this down, we would be concluding our class. And then you could take group pictures and post to the group. Did we all get that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
We would have time to continue
Yes,
any
sir.
time moment,
Yes,
but for now
sir.
we have to conclude our class, unfortunately. So we've exhausted the time frame we had. So you kindly bear with us for today. And this should be uploaded to the platform, so you could still go over this video, and in case you don't understand one or two things there, you could still go over it and see and ask questions, then we'll be able to get back to you later on those questions. So for now, kindly take group pictures and post to the group chat. So are we all okay on that? Can I kindly get a response? No, we're all on the same page.
What they are showing us. Please stop showing us your face. Somebody's side.
So I believe we've all gotten this information here. So we'll be concluding now and closing. So do well to take the group photos and post on the group chat. We'll need that. So thank you for your time and your attention today. I hope we'll have another session with you in the future. Is that okay?